Hello, everybody out there. Mark 9. This is a companion episode, companion video rather, for our latest episode. Really great episode. I'm so excited. This is one that I've been wanting to do for quite a long while. Um, I just wanted to make sure I did it right and I had everything that I needed, and just wanted to make sure it was really good episode, and it is because. It's dedicated to my absolute favorite record label, hands down. Um, I own the most of this particular label. I just love it. It's fun, kitschy, cool. It's just a piece of history that I think it needs to be preserved, and I'm doing my best to try to get every single record from this label, because every time I find one and I listen to it, I just love it. It doesn't matter, whether it was one of the early ones from the label, the later ones from the label, whether it's a compilation, because they did make some sort of compilations, and it's, a lot of times I'll find the compilation and it's something that I've already got on other albums and stuff like that. But it doesn't matter. It's just I love it. But anyways, we're of course talking about Command Records, and that's the name of our episode today. Command. Um, One of the things that I did was I used little snippets, little sound bites, if you will, from the very first LP, which has on side A a series of tests to check out your stereo system, because that's what it was all about. Hi-fi was brand spanking new, and stereo was like something that not everybody had. It was, this is where audiophiles first started, because before everything was just mono, and now, thanks to companies like Command, stereo was a thing, and they were playing tricks with stereo, and they were doing the sounds on this side and the sounds on that side, and they were switching them back and forth, and they were using 35 millimeter film to do multi tracks, so they could actually position certain instruments, forwards, backwards, left side, right side, make them louder so they stood out, quieter so they were in back. It was really high tech, high fidelity, really at its finest, and so they wanted to make sure that your stereo was set up correctly and was able to handle what they were throwing at you, basically. So we're using that. It's actually it's not actually the first record. It's the first record as far as the numbers go. This is CSC 100. First album. There's always a 100 album. Um, but it was like actually probably about the third or probably fourth or fifth record to actually come out, to be produced, I should say, because on the back they have, on side one, like I said, there's a series of tests, 9 different tests, and on side two there is 4 songs from the following albums: RS 810, Provocative Percussion Volume 2, so obviously there must have been a Volume 1 already. Kumana from that's RS 811 from Provocative Piano. Tenderly, RS 809 from Bongos. Enjoy Yourself Cha Cha from RS 814, Pertinent Percussion Cha Chas. Okay, now that I've said that, there's something that's special about this album that I like. It has, and you can see here on the front, they kind of do a graph. They gave you a piece of paper that was a graph, and you were supposed to graph the results from your tests, and it kind of gave you a chart here on how to do it, and whoever owned this album before me, because I'm certainly not the first owner of this album, didn't use it. So I have it as is, as it was sent, which is very cool. A lot of times you find an album, it doesn't have these kind of inserts in them, so I was lucky to find one that had it, not only have it, but not used. So that's cool. Alright, so we mentioned 4 albums that were on that checkout. Let's take a look at those 4 albums. Bongos. And this actually stars a group called Los Admiraderos. Los Admiraderos. But it doesn't matter what the name is, because it's a baloney name. It's not such a group. This is just basically a bunch of command all-stars, and we'll use that term quite a bit, which is Willie Rodriguez, he's a percussionist, Don Lemon, drummer and percussionist, Tony Mottola, guitar player, Bob Haggart, bass player, Ted Summers, Stanley Webb, and Artie Marotti, I believe all either percussionists or reed players, actually. So, there's that. And again, this is RS 809. Then we have Provocative Percussion Volume 2. And all of these are gatefolds. And inside, it's what they called Anoke Pros. It's just things that Anoke Light wrote pertaining to this particular album. It gave, little descriptions of each of the songs. Sometimes they were actually just talking about the stereo way, the way they use 35 millimeter to create stereo and stuff like that. It all depending on what you want. But this one actually is starring Anoke Light and the Light Brigade, which again is another way of saying Command All-Stars. Again, we have Charlie Magnante, Bobby Haggart, Tony Mottola, Willie Rodriguez, Terry Snyder, Yerby Green, Pee Wee Irwin, Artie Marotti again, Dominic Cortez. I didn't know he was someone on Command, but he is. So we'll see that a lot, where they just gave it a name. They use different names to mix it up, but basically it's just the same people over and over and over again, basically. All right. And again, that was RS 810. All right, moving on. RS 811, Dick Hyman and Provocative Piano. Okay. And again, another one that is Anoke Light and the Light Brigade. This is RS 814, Pertinent Percussion Cha-Chas. Alright, moving on. So, now we get into the ones that I selected that we're going to be using. This is RS 844, Anoke Light, Big Band Bossa Nova. The New Beat from Brazil is the subtitle. This one I'm really happy with because it is still in the shrink. The original shrink wrap. The original price tag. And it is a gatefold, but of course I'm not opening it because I don't want to take that shrink off. The big band has got some really good people in here. We have Doc Severinsen, Mel Davis, Jimmy Maxwell. Those are trumpet players. Woodwinds, and these are not all of them, just some of them. Walter Levinsky and Phil Bodner. Tony Mottola on guitar, Bob Haggart bass, Don Lemon drums. Trombones, we have Irby Green and Bobby Byrne and Jack Satterfield. But then percussionists, we got 3 percussionists here. Bob Rosengarten, Phil Krause, and Eddie Shaughnessy. Eddie, I like the way it says Eddie Shaughnessy. If you're not familiar with Ed Shaughnessy, he was a drummer on The Tonight Show for many, 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 many years during Johnny Carson's run. So, great album. Alright, moving on, we have, this is RS 801. And this is a band called the Dixie Rebels. And the name of the album is The Dixie Rebels Strike Back with True Dixieland Sound. Looks like that. Alright, so, who are the Dixie Rebels, you might ask? Again, Don Lemon, Tony Mottola, I mean, it's the same guys, Irby Green. It's just the same guys all over again. Studio musicians from the Command studio performing under a different name. That's all. Okay? Moving forward, this is RS 900. Tony Mottola. Amor, Mexico, SA. SA stands for South America. So all of these tunes are in here are, you know, going to be reminiscent of Latin America, South America, Mexican sound. It's very good. He's a great guitar player. He started out with Command doing some really good stuff. He was also with a couple other labels at the time too. He really didn't break out of his shell until after Command was done and gone, and Anoke Light started another record label called Project 3. That's when Tony Mottola took off. He had a little more freedom to do some really cool stuff, and that's coming up. We're going to do another show on Project 3 someday. So, alright, moving on. Now this one, I actually have two copies, and I'm going to explain why. This is RS 848. Okay? I'll show you this one first. This is called Anoke Light and His Orchestra, My Musical Coloring Book. Okay, and there you go. It's just a regular LP. Then I have this one. This one is a gatefold. Okay. So I think this one actually came out first. Okay. Later, after Command was on its way down, it sold its records. It sold the company. Anoke sold the company to ABC Paramount, who then sold it to MGM, and they stopped doing the gatefolds. So that's why I have this one. That's probably original. This is probably a reissue. Hang on a second. Let me get a drink of iced tea. Alright. Moving forward, we have RS 870. This is the Ray Charles Singers. No, not that Ray Charles. Different Ray Charles. But this album is called El de La and Other Extra Special Songs for Young Lovers. Again, another gatefold. Back is it must have been a smoker who owned this, because this is nicely laminated, the front. The back is not laminated, and look how discolored it is, but it's still a great album. And we do get into Ray Charles, who he is, some of the stuff that he did. It's not Ray Charles that you're familiar with, the blues singer, no. Alright, then this one is kind of fun. This is Anoke Light Command Performances, personally selected by Anoke Light and especially arranged for dynamic stereo performance. This is basically their idea of a greatest hits album. Command Performances. So these are tunes that have been used on other albums. We do actually use La Dolce Vita, which is a great tune. And it was actually arranged by Lou Davies. He was actually at one point an arranger for some of the big band work that Anoke was putting out. Instead of Anoke arranging everything, thought he'd get another arranger to give it a different perspective, and so the two of them worked. Sometimes in tandem, sometimes he did this album, he did that album. You know what I mean? So, but anyways, so that particular tune is actually from. Oh, and I forgot to give you the number. This is RS 868. Okay, but that tune, because it was from another album, was originally from this album, which is RS 835. A Note Light, great themes from hit films. And I love that they used the stereo 35mm emblem on here. They used that quite a bit on a few different albums. But so there you go. That's what it looks like. That's the album that it actually came from. Okay? Then the last one, unfortunately, I would love to play my entire collection of Command for you someday, but that's just not possible. But this one is called Let's Dance the Bossa Nova. And if you look at the front, it says special instruction sheet enclosed showing how to dance the Bossa Nova. Unfortunately, it's not in here. I've looked a million times. Every day I look and I hope it suddenly appears, but it doesn't. That's what I was talking about. Sometimes the inserts get lost, get damaged, so people throw them out, whatever. Maybe someday I'll find one that's got the sheet in it and I'll buy it. But again, some Bossa Nova music here by, and of course it says Anouk Light and his orchestra, which is again just a collection, stereo, collection of the people from Command, studio musicians getting together to perform. Okay. All right. So there you go. Definitely take a listen to it. If you have a chance to listen to it with headphones on, even better, because it's so much fun. This label, again, stereo was brand new, and they were playing with their new toy like they've never played before, and you get a lot of you can hear the bongos on this side, you can hear the cowbell on that side, you can hear the guitar player first on this side, then on that side. The organ's over here now. You know, they just were playing, having fun with it so much that it deserves headphones to listen to. Okay? All right, have a good one. Take care.